Got a couple of items to go over. Good Friday afternoon to you all, YouTube. It is 1:05 now, as you can see by the lovely clock up there in the top right corner. I thought I would use this time to give you a rundown of what I've come up with, and I shouldn't say me. I actually challenged Bob yesterday to come up with what he thought would be a good way to use the Stancor, I forget the number, P something 76, 6376, I think. Anyway, whatever it is. The filament transformer that I bought the other day and received in the mail and showed you on the video. I wanted to come up with the best way of wiring this and to be the most versatile with using the fewest components, I guess is what you would say. In other words, I wanted it simple as possible, but yet to use as much of the transformer's abilities as possible. So, to that end, let's take a look at the transformer. Alright, well, what you see in front of you is basically the transformer layout as it is comes from the factory. On the primary side, for wiring for 115 or 120, whatever you want to call it in this country, the deal is that you tie 1 and 3 together and 2 and 4 together, and if you look at the diagram, that is exactly what happens, and that gives you at 115 volt AC input at 1 and 4, and that powers the transformer. Now over on the other side, the secondary, depending on how it's wired, gives you your various outputs. You can either wire it in series, which you connect 6 and 7, or you can connect it in parallel, which you connect 5 and 7 and 6 and 8. And so let's consider exactly what we're going to get when we do that. First thing we're going to look at is the series connect. In other words, connect 6 and 7 together. As you can see, I have a line drawn between 6 and 7. And the outputs will be off of 5 and 8. And connected this way, we get a output of 12 volt AC at 2 amps. Basically, you have two 6-volt supplies there at 2 amps each. And if you connect them in series, you're going to get 2 amps out and 12 volts. And that's the way that's wired. So that's one capability of the transformer. If we take a look at the second one, that's wiring it in parallel. Now that's, as you can see, we are connecting 5 and 7, the orange wire there, and 6 and 8, the green wire. And if wired in that fashion, you get a 6-volt AC at 4 amps, because you have basically two 6-volt supplies, 2 amps each, and they add up that way when they're in parallel. So that's what you have. So those two things right there are probably the most versatile outputs you can ask for on this transformer. In other words, you have capabilities of either 6 volts at 4 amps, which, you know, that would provide quite a bit of tube filament voltage and amperage. Or you can go with the 12 volt at the 2 amps, which you don't generally need as much amperage on the 12 volt side as you do on the 6 volts. So there you go. Now that's good. That's how you wire them. But how you go about doing this in a fashion where there's only 2 outputs? I want output at 5 and 8. That's it, all I want. So how do you do that? Let's take a look. Alright, we add a simple double pole, double throw switch wired in this fashion. And this will give us our desired function. Switched one way, the series connects. And if you look here, this is the series connect right here. So if the switch is switched on this side, it will connect in series to give you a 12 volt AC at 2 amps. Now if you go the other direction and you do this, that basically connects them in parallel and gives you your 6 volt AC at 4 amps. So that's, again, outputs are on 5 and 8 both times, and that gives you pretty good, really good versatility, I think, for this particular transformer. Now, there is another option, and let me show you that. By adding optional outputs of 6 and 7, you can also provide a dual 6 volt 2 amp supplies if you need it. In other words, they would be independent of each other, and you could add those if you wanted to. So that's even more, but again, I doubt that I'll do that because I don't foresee a need of that, and like I said, it can always be added later on if the need arises. But I think for now, that's how exactly I'm going to do it, and using the double pole, double throw switch. If I could learn to talk, I think that would be perfect. I believe again, and I think that's gonna solve our filament transformer wiring diagram, and I think that will come in handy, really handy, as a matter of fact. Now on to the other part of this. As promised, I am back with the second part of this video, and it's now 1:22 in the afternoon. You guys may recall that I did a video this morning. I know it was only a few hours ago, but on the frequency counter module that I purchased from China, it was the same one that Bill Old 64 Goat did, or bought. And it's actually a pretty good little module for what it is, but there's a limitation of it only goes down to 1 megahertz, and I really kind of wanted something a little bit more lower end than that as far as frequency measuring. And so to that end, what I've done is found this. Actually, I didn't find it. Bob found it, and I bought this one here. This one goes from 0.1 megahertz to 1100 megahertz. That's 100 kilohertz to 1.1 gigahertz is what that is. So this one will be a lot more versatile, I do believe, than the other one. And so happy about this. It has a as you can see the pictures there, it's in a high range right there, high level, or whatever you want to call it. You can see high, the H indicates the channel that it's in. There's one with the low. It has 2 channels, and they are auto ranging as far as you don't have to do anything to switch them back and forth. The low one goes from 0.1 megahertz, again, that's 100 kilohertz, to 60 megahertz. And then the other high channel goes from, the high channel goes from 20 megahertz to 1.1 gigahertz. That's exactly how it does. So there's overlap there, I understand that, but that's fine. That's how most counters work. My Heathkit's the same way. So like I said, this should provide a good deal of, in other words, you can get like 455 kilohertz for IF frequencies and things like it, even the 262 some of them require, and things like that. It's a good deal, I think. It's $14.88 plus $3.88 shipping, and it's a speed pack shipping, which I think is much better than the standard shipping. And like I said, that's what I've got coming, and I believe that will be better in the long run for the multifunction panel. I think it will be more versatile, and I'm looking forward to getting that and seeing exactly how it works. So once it arrives, we will let you know and bring that onto the bench, and we'll play around with that. We do a lot of playing on the bench, and you guys you guys know what I'm talking about. So I think that's going to do this little video, and you guys have a great day. I do very much appreciate you watching, and we will talk to you later. See ya!